my next question. Now, I've spoken to you guys a little bit in the past, in the last few weeks or so, and I've seen on your website with regards to Jazzy that you homeschool her, so you do a lot of stuff with her at home. And I've spoken to another colleague of mine, Lillian Grace, who's done similar things with her children. And this is something I really want to bring to the forefront. It's actually quite an important topic for me, purely because I would love to showcase other ways of helping kids become educated, apart from putting them in the system. So my question to you is, can you guys explain why you chose to do that, and how you've seen it benefit her already?
Okay. Would you want me? I'll speak up first because it was initially my vision.
Okay.
I've got, I think when I initially created this goal, I started typing out the whys, and there was like about 130 before I'd even consciously sat down and thought about it. So I knew in my heart of hearts that's where the journey I wanted to take with her.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it wasn't really that school's a bad thing or anything. I had no judgment more so on that. It was about I wanted to be at home anyway as a parent, and I want to be with her. Right. So, and no one's really going to give her the best care other than her parents.
Right.
So there was that. There was also what I realised over time was that, again, like she has her highest values. That can't be met at school. It's just not an option, really, when you think about it. The schooling isn't going to design their whole curriculum around our daughter's highest values. And I suppose I wanted to keep her genius intact. I wanted her to be a free spirit. And exemplification. I think for me, schooling isn't about academics. Like for me, I approach our homeschooling as a life discovery. It's really, we actually don't do any formal education at all. We actually just get up each day and live our life according to our highest values. So we all have different ones. So by the time, the three of us meet our needs, the day is gone, really.
Right.
But for me, it's about experience, life experience. Like, I think I read somewhere it's, children really learn by 95% of its experience, 5% is actually academic.
Yes.
And I thought, crikeys, So for me, it's exemplification as well. Like what kind of life do I want to exemplify to her? And, I want her to have an extraordinary life like what we do. We're only just creating that, like in the last few years.
Right.
We had to undo a lot of stuff, like a lot of conditioning. We subordinated, we indoctrinated into a system of life. And, we've had to undo that. That's not a waste of time because it's such an experience for us, but why would we put her through that? When we can see that there's so much potential and opportunity out there, especially now that we're creating, our business. She's actually asked to be involved in it.
Wow.
So, and she's 5. And so for us, it's about exemplification, exemplifying health, exemplifying how we speak and communicate to each other in a connective way. How we live on our day, what's our life, our feelings like? What's dominant in our feelings? Are we inspired and happy, or are we frustrated? So it's all about that. She sees all that through our daily actions. And health is very high on our values. So she sees and pairs with us and understands what we do with health. And she's been juicing since the age of 3. It just becomes a natural way of life.
Wow.
For her, because she does what we do. And also, I think what came to me about 6 months ago, it kind of finally, the pin dropped. I realised that for me, in my personal development over the last 5 years, when I look at the common denominator, all of our mentors say it's, 80% of success is psychology, 20% is mechanics. Psychology, she's going to get that from us in what we exemplify.
Of course.
How we talk, the quality of our questions, asking better questions. It's all that. Mindset is so big.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you can see that in so many, people we know, they will buy into a program, but the mindset is not there, then the information is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah,
Yes.
the foundation isn't there. They haven't done the work because they might be, and again, it's I'm sort of generalising, but you hear the statistics where it's a high percentage, like in the 90s, of people going to certain things or going to workshops or seminars that don't actually succeed.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very, very small percentage that actually
I think it's
succeed.
10% or 20%.
I can't quote an exact figure, but I know it's high. I know it's in the 90s that actually don't. So for us, there's the denominator is the mindset.
It's massive.
And when we consciously made the choice to be at home and to raise Jazzy consciously and aware at home, for me it was awesome because it was like, wow, I can actually instill and share wisdom with my daughter. See, my father passed away when I was 9,
Right.
so I never had any of that. And as much as Mum did her best, she wasn't that typical one that would like and actually dissect the day or
Reflect.
Yeah, or really get into the nitty gritty of it was all about survival mode.
Right.
But we have a choice not to experience and live that life with Jazzy. So we're actually choosing how it is that we want to live our life. So she's been on she's been overseas, she's been on a plane. I think it's 32 times or 36 times. I've lost count. I don't know.
Wow.
But she's been on an aeroplane she travels with us. We go to workshops and seminars together. We've got mentors in all areas of our life.
So she knows all of them.
She knows them, and they're friends.
Wow.
Like she'll approach them. She's not intimidated by anybody or anything. But that's because she sees us networking. She hears me on the phone talking to guys that I do deals with.
She does her own deals.
It's an everyday thing, Greg. There's nothing unusual in her world.
Right.
Other than being pretty much told what to do.
Uh-huh.
If you tell her what to do, she'll stand up and say, "Hold on a tick. It's not what I want to do." She'll question everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's awesome. She's got no fear whatsoever.
It's amazing.
But yet we tackle things without any fear either. We have respect, don't get me wrong, we have respect for what we go into, but we're not governed by it, and neither is she.
Right.
Yeah, and also I think as well, for imagination is massive, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
My imagination was obviously stomped out of me because it took me, even when Jazzy was born and we started goal setting, and I couldn't feel those goals. It took a while for me. I just said, what do you mean feel it? I don't understand. I can't feel the goal. I can think it in my head very easily, like rote learning. I just can't feel it. It took me a long time to feel because I had to undo so much emotion.
Right.
So my imagination wasn't there. But now when I look at my destiny and our goals, and I have such a knowing. It's not even that I believe anymore. It's a knowing. So, wow. And I look at her every day. She would be in her imagination. She lives there. Probably, 80%, 90% of the day.
Yeah.
She's off talking to her friends, and I'll be like, sorry, what did you say? And she's like, Mum, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to so-and-so. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So friends are over, but they're not there. But she's so in her world of imagination. It's quite profound to actually watch it and to be an observant of that. And it just blows my mind. Yeah. But you need plenty of time to be able to play, ponder, reflect, imagine,
express.
You have that can't be fit into a time schedule. It can't be rushed.
Of course.
It can't be managed. It's just got to come from within.
Yeah, you can't be efficient with.
So
you can't say, well, look, this is not the right time to express your feelings because there's somewhere we need to be.
Of course.
Yeah. It's so allowing her to express and not suppress any of her emotions for us at the start was quite challenging because it brought up a lot of stuff in us.
Yeah, but it was
because we were brought up, authoritarian parents.
Yeah, we were told to behave, which is
behave, be good. Well, it was good for me or good for you.
Right.
So so there's a lot of that. It's allowing her to be.
And I suppose as well, one other major key point for me, what Serge just touched on, was that we chose to parent a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very connective. It's about being aware and present, and also expressing your feelings. So feelings that, you know, that are pent up. So by sending her to school, okay, she wouldn't be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at home, we can actually, when we realise when she's her emotional bucket's full, when she needs to unload some feelings, well, we're able to stop and help her and support her in that. So if she would not be able to do that at school, because it's a completely different way of discipline. We don't kind of do discipline.
Right.
We do connection.
Right.
So she'd go to school and have one kind of experience, and then she'd come home and have a different kind of experience. So I'm sure that would probably bring up confusion and frustration in her, which we don't actually want to add to anything, because we want to actually help her to release and unload stress and emotion and pent up emotions.
So in sort of finishing off, we got the opportunity to know ourselves now, some 40 odd years after we were born. Well, we're giving her the opportunity to do it right now.
Well, she does know her stuff. It's allowing her to be able to keep that.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you guys are doing for that reason alone, because that's exactly what my business is about. It's exactly about captivating a child at an early age. I mean, I'd love to go a little bit earlier with my business, and maybe that'll be something I can tackle a little bit further down the line. But I'm starting at least with a demographic that's already untapped with regards to personal development and inspiration and empowerment. It's not there for them. So what you guys are doing with Jazzy, I think, is really inspiring, because, as you said, you're kind of giving her a chance to organically develop as she is, which in essence, it's kind of going to allay all those fears, because fears are really taught by what people tell you can't do. So you develop a fear about doing it, thinking that something's going to happen to you, which is it's so irrational. So I think it's inspiring what you guys are doing. I definitely commend your decision to homeschool her in the way that you guys do it. It's definitely something that interests me in terms of when I have kids, and I have nephews and nieces, and I see them go through school, and I see their individualities lost, and the creative pursuits are kind of lost through that whole process to some degree. So it's definitely something that kind of gets me interested, and something my wife and I are actually discussing in terms of what we're going to do when we have kids. So it's great to hear from people who are doing it, and who are seeing such incredible changes in their kids, or just seeing such incredible growth in their kids that you might not see. I know that if you weren't doing what you were doing with homeschooling, your 5-year-old daughter would probably not express herself beyond the 5-year-old age that people would think she's only capable of expressing herself at. So you've really given her the opportunity to, like you said, open up to her innate connection, and just that power inside a child is always present, and I think you've given her a chance to unlock that. So
and that's all we do.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That's I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's basically is giving her the avenue and giving her the opportunity to discover herself at a very young and an early age, because I see such genius in her, like I do when I've got the opportunity to talk and spend time with other children. There's such an organic, magic little component, that exists in all these little kids.
Oh yeah.
And given the right platform, where they're not in any way intimidated to express what it is that they truly feel, the stuff these kids are coming up with. And you've heard, I'm not telling you things that you don't already know, but that for me is like, wow, that is just so right brain stuff. That is just so imagination.
Yeah.
There's no conditioning in that answer. They're just allowed to express and not to be judged in any way. And that's their higher self presenting, that's their higher self coming out as a voice, and I stand back and I listen, and I'm thinking, wow, that is just, don't lose that.
Yeah, no, I can definitely say, just in regards to what you just said, there's definitely a trend, it's probably been going on for a while, but I've just noticed it in the last year or so, with kids of Jazzy's generation, and maybe a little bit older, but this kind of this generation that's kind of coming through now, the amount of little entrepreneurs and leaders popping out with that generation is insane. I mean, it boggles my mind, because when I was a kid, I mean, even I'm sure when you guys were kids, it was almost like unheard of to hear of a kid doing what Jazzy might be doing, or what some of these other kids are doing out there. It's almost like we would think that they're these geniuses and savants, and we'd put these labels on them because they're just standouts. Whereas now, they're it's just becoming normal.
And it is.
Because
it was always there.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, my feeling is the reason why kids are doing it more so now than they've ever done it before is because they have so much access to the world that we never had, which gives them the opportunity to express themselves beyond the way we did. Yeah. And plus, they're trying to teach us as an adult population how to live authentically and creatively, which is something we've suppressed for a very, very long time. So power to you guys for adding value to humanity by doing this with your daughter. I think it's just a great thing that you're doing. So with that, I'm going to finish off actually with my final question, because you've answered a couple of my questions, which is great.
Cool.
But my final question is, briefly, what advice can you give parents who might be having some challenges with their kids, who haven't kind of tapped into what you guys have tapped into yet, and aren't really sure how to create those or forge those strong relationships with their kids? What advice can you give them in terms of helping them develop those connections with their children?
Yeah. In part, I think we've probably already answered it. I think there's certainly common denominators, and again, the foundation has to be built with knowing who it is that you're about, knowing what it is that really juices you up. Because I know when my emotional bucket is full, if it gets to be full, and yet Jazzy comes to me and says, Dad, it's all about me. You need to give back to me. I've got some needs that need to be met. Can you help me? And I'm going in with the mindset, well, hold on a tick. I've done nothing for myself all day. I've been at work all day. Now, assuming that's where I'm from, like a typical, mother and father go off to work, kids go on to school, they come home, everybody's needs want to be met because they're in a place where they feel like their sanctuary, or they feel nice and liberated, so to speak. And so I suppose it's learning how to give back to yourself first before you can give anything to the children, because the children don't understand that. You might have spent most of your day giving to somebody else and not giving to yourself.
Right, I see.
They're not going to know that. We're very fortunate that we are able to meet all our needs, but that's not the common theme out there, Greg. As you know, and as we're definitely aware of, that is not the typical family dynamic. So learning to give back to yourself, having a little win, having a personal win. If you're at work, maybe before you go home, having a little win, having maybe a walk, giving back to yourself to some degree, because when you do go home, it's going to be mummy, daddy. And then at least if you've given back to yourself to some small degree, you've emptied part of your bucket out, if there was anything that's been building up all day. Right. And then you've got that space available to at least
emotionally
sit down at ground level or at their level and say, hey, how you going? Glad to be home. What's happened in your world? Like, actually build that connection with the child. But you're not going to do it if you're coming home thinking, well, what about me?
Of course.
So that's one thing that sticks out for me in answering that.
And I think as well, like with us, we set our goals as a family, like even Jazzy.
Right.
So when you do that, you get to know what each other wants, and you actually get to, you're in that space of going, having ideas. Well, what about if we did it this way, and how about you did it this way? And then taking those goals and putting them into something of where you can actually create. How do you create them? So you're asking great questions. How are we going to do it? So when we plan our week on the Sunday for the following week, it's so how are we going to meet your need, Jazzy's need, but we do it together.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets to see that, okay, Mum's got these needs, Dad's got these needs, he needs to do it that, okay, I can't just do it then, so we need to work it in. So they actually start to consider your needs as well.
Right.
Okay, if you treat them like kids, okay, and you're expecting them to act like kids.
Right.
I mean, like when I approach it let's treat her like an individual. You'll be amazed how children will rise up,
Of course.
and want to help and want to contribute when you actually give them that opportunity.
Of course.
So if you've got 5 of you in the family, it might mean that you all try and meet one of your needs, a main need gets met that week. It might just start out being meeting one need for that week.
Mm-hmm.
You start small.
Yeah.
But when everyone has a win and they can see it and feel it, and everyone can feel the energy in the family, then you build it up. It becomes, it's synergy, you know. It's just a different way of looking at it rather than one person meeting their needs at the expense of somebody else.
Cool.
It starts small. It's foundational, I find.
I hope that answers your question.
No, that's some really, really, really great advice. I can definitely see. I mean, I've worked with families before. I've worked with kids before. And one of the things I usually say to parents, particularly when they've got challenges with their children, is I go, well, let's look at you first, and then we'll get to the kids if we still need to get to the kids, because we might not even need to go there. And if we can help you with whatever you're dealing with or not dealing with right now, it might make a massive difference to how your kids respond to you or how you can respond with them. So, everything you just said really resonates with the stuff that I've done or am doing, even with clients, who have partners and they're having trouble connecting with their partners. Well, the one of the reasons for that is you're not giving enough to you, so you're always feeling deprived when they want something out of you. So there's a resistance there to give them something and connect with them. So I think it's really, really sound advice, and probably would help a lot of parents out there who are having some struggles dealing with their kids and not really knowing how to connect to them, or not really knowing how to, I guess, deal with some of the tensions and frustrations that might be popping up in their dynamics. So thank you for sharing that advice.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Well, we've kind of come to the end of this interview, so I just want to thank you once again for giving this time to everyone who's watching this. I know that there are parents out there who, like I've just said, who really struggle to create these collaborative partnerships and relationships with their kids. And I think your insights and advice could really be of great use to them. And what I know, it's never really easy going against the grain, and you guys certainly show that it can be done, and that the results of doing so really speak for themselves. I can really feel the authenticity with what you guys are doing, and it's quite beautiful. So I look forward to sharing more of your work and what you guys are producing through the Inspired Family with as many people as I can. And also to have you guys as part of the Be Who You Want to Be community of visionaries. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us, Greg.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an awesome opportunity to share some wisdom with you and your listeners. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.